York Giants have a fascinating decision in front of them. They've got the 6th pick in the draft. Last time they had that, they took Daniel Jones. Now, maybe they take Daniel Jones' replacement. He's coming off an ACL. Yesterday at the Combine, the general manager, Joe Schoen, was supporting his quarterback while keeping his options open.
I have faith in Daniel. I have faith in Daniel as our starting quarterback. Where we are at 6, we're going to look at everything. We're going to look at all positions. And again, you hope you're not up there again. You don't want to be picking in the top 10 or in the top. But it's a good draft. It's a solid draft across the board, and we're going to have an opportunity to get a good player, and we're going to evaluate all the positions and take the best player we can.
So look, a lot of things can and likely will change between now and the end of April, but I think there is a consensus, Dominique, that there are 3 big quarterbacks, and then there's a little gap, and then there are others. And the Giants probably at this moment sit in a spot where they're too late to get one of the big 3, and they're too early to take the others, most likely, which means if they want to get a quarterback, they will have to make an aggressive move. Should they, Dominique? Are they a team that should be in the business of trying to trade up aggressively?
I don't think they should.
No.
Yeah, I don't think they should trade up for a quarterback at this point. Like, this roster has too many holes in it that they need to fill. I think that we get part of the thing that we pointed out in the first hour about how the number 1 or the highest drafted quarterbacks don't always work out is a lot because of the situation, not because of the talent of the quarterback. And I think that the most successful quarterbacks will be the ones that go into good situations, and that situation is not advantageous for success right now.
That said, Dominique, you are, if nothing else, the most pragmatic person I know. The people making these decisions with the Giants right now may very well have their jobs on the line if things don't turn around there quickly, or if there aren't some signs of hope. Are you betting your job on Daniel Jones, if nothing else, staying healthy for a season? He's not been able to do that much.
Sorry, I didn't hear the end of what you just said.
The injury factor, like Brian Daboll, and his job may depend on what their record is next year. That feels like it's a factor in this somewhere, no?
Yeah, no, I mean, the moral hazard that comes with being a coach and a general manager of a team, your incentives are not always aligned with the timeline of what's best for the team. So there is going to be some panic. But I think Brian Daboll bought himself some time with the successful first season, but the mess that it was last year was a problem all the way up into the issues that they had with the coaching staff. I don't think any one player is going to solve that. They're going to have to redesign the way that they're doing things, and hopefully a healthy Daniel Jones will have them have a lot more success and save some people's jobs, because you're right. The pressure, we just went from him being a coach of the year type of guy to now considering this season might make or break his future in New York.
Especially with Bill Belichick out there. Go ahead, Jeff.
Joe Schoen, the general manager we're talking about, and Brandon Beane, who we heard from going into the break, talking about how if I drafted the right guy, it's no one cares, and if I didn't, I'm out of a job anyway. Schoen and Beane are best friends, okay? Schoen was there in Buffalo when they drafted Josh Allen, and he did so. He saw the level of conviction. I remember talking to Schoen and Beane about it before they drafted Allen. They knew that was the guy, and they were going to go get him. If Joe Schoen sees somebody in this draft that he knows will change the franchise, I do not believe he'll be afraid to pull that trigger. I'm not saying he does, but I'm saying if the guy is there, he learned it from Beane. Listen to those words that Brandon Beane said. I guarantee you Joe Schoen is willing to apply them.
Well, look, and I've been saying it for 2 weeks. There are at least some similarities in traits and in size between Drake May and Josh Allen. And Brian Daboll was very successful with one. I feel like it makes some sense. Go ahead, Lewis.
And this would be interesting now because, look, I think as Dominic was just alluding to, just 2 years ago now, Brian Daboll was considered to be the guy who can wring more out of less than just about any coach in the NFL. Okay, he was considered that guy. Then the wheels, and then now remember, he wrung more, him and Mike Kafka together wrung more out of Daniel Jones than anyone thought was possible. Then the offseason talk was about whether or not Daniel Jones deserved the contract that he got. So obviously John Mara was one of those people who have said, look, we have actively sabotaged this young man's career up until this point with kind of some of the nonsense we have subjected him to and not helped him with. Finally, Brian was supposed to be the one who got that in line. Joe was supposed to be the one who got that in line. Everything, the offensive line, all the assets that were dumped into that position, with the drafting of guys like Evan Neal and Andrew Thomas coming along. Everything was supposed to be trending up. Okay, the drafting of Jalen Hyatt, the signing of Paris Hamilton, like all those things were supposed to, or Paris Campbell, all those things were supposed to be heading in the right direction. Now he gets hurt. Daniel Jones gets hurt. Now all of a sudden we're going ahead and we're taking a total left turn and going, Daniel Jones isn't the guy. Where just over a calendar year ago, we just signed him to a long-term contract. Brian Daboll's at the top of the world. Now everything is kind of like flipped. You know, I'm sitting like this. This is kind of wild to me. This is kind of like a real tornado of all of a sudden everything was great in New York to now all of a sudden everything is like we got to draft another quarterback? No. Keep building the football team. Keep building the football team, as Dominic alluded to. You still need to protect the quarterback. They were the most sacked quarterback in the NFL last year. You don't have anything close to a number one wide receiver. The defense is going to need to be revamped and kind of supported as well. I don't think this is the time to start moving up and making bold moves. They have a nice, collection of draft picks this year. Supplement it. Use all of those guys and continue to build out this roster.
Dominique, final word.
This is the moral hazard that I'm talking about, because if you feel like you need to prove something this coming season, then I think the decisions that you make are not going to be in the best interest of the franchise going forward. What they need to do, and the point that I think I try to make almost every year around this time, is the situation decides the quarterback as much as the quarterback does. It's not a coincidence that all the best quarterbacks in football right now came into really good situations. So the smart thing to do is not to believe that there is some single quick fix, a la Joe Burrow's the only one that I've seen do it in recent history. That the way that you're going to do it is the way that all the other teams seem to have done it, is build up something that is prepared to receive a quarterback. And maybe that quarterback has to sit for a year or two. But the point is, the way that you have success is not by drafting the most talented quarterback, but getting one of the very many talented quarterbacks into a good situation.
Back on Get Up, our next stop is Dallas, where the Cowboys are entering a pivotal offseason. We know about Dak Prescott, his cap number, all his leverage, everything else. But coming off another early playoff exit, team culture has been a huge topic of conversation. Yesterday, for the first time, Stephen Jones was asked about it. Here's what he said.
From the organization on down, we feel good about our culture. You always want to be better. I will say that. Our leadership on our team's outstanding. So, you're always going to have somebody who's, going to say something, that's not, that might be, hey, that's their particular thought process on why we may have come up short, but I don't think in general, personally, I don't think it's an issue.
That's what he said. Dominique, what's your reaction?
Yeah, I mean, they've had a lot of success, although they haven't won a Super Bowl since the 90s. They've had a lot of success, so it's hard to completely denigrate what their culture is, having not been in the building. But we have seen some recent demonstrations of their culture with players being critical of the star quarterback. And to me, it reminds me, I think I was on the show on Tuesday, and we had Graziano say that Ryan Poles is not concerned about our rundown for Get Up. That's true of Ryan Poles and the Bears. It feels like that the Cowboys are definitely 100%